there were high hopes for the Orlando Magic this season, but we saw the injury bug hit them completely. We witnessed how much that would hurt them, but they're here. They're the 7th seed. They have an opportunity to close things out tonight. I don't know how many individuals are going to play tonight with that 7th seed clinched, but you do have an opportunity on Tuesday to make the playoffs and face the Boston Celtics in the first round. But for you, how would you describe the Orlando Magic season this year?
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard your opening segment about disappointing teams in the league. And on the surface, yeah, it's disappointing when you're a 5 seed last year and you win 47 games and then falling to a 7 seed and winning either 41 or 42, depending on what happens today. But the Magic, for the most part, at least the last 3-4 months of last season, were a pretty healthy basketball team for the most part. They have been decimated by injuries this year. And for that team last year that won 47 games, we all thought was on the brink of becoming a contender,
Right,
to now only winning, 5 fewer games than that amidst all the injuries of this year, I'm almost questioning if the Magic are disappointing. Again, I know I talked with you about this on Friday. If you were to tell me back in October that Banchero, both Wagners, and Jalen Suggs combined were going to miss over 175 games this year, I don't know if I would think we were over 500 at the end of the regular season. So from that standpoint, I'm not sure how disappointing it can really be.
Now, games are strategic, and we see it in basketball all the time. And the question I'm going to ask is going to be just due to seeding and maybe where you want to be. But I don't want to test the fates here, but if you win on Tuesday, you're going to face the Boston Celtics in the first round. If you lose and then you win the second game, you'll be facing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who you took to 7 games last year in the NBA playoffs. Both teams are going to be a tough out, but do you feel Orlando matches up better against one or the other?
I have no false hope about winning a 7-game series against Cleveland or Boston. I would love for that to happen, but let's be realistic here. I actually think that Orlando is one of the better teams in the NBA to match up with Boston. Orlando has had some success against the Celtics in the last couple of years. Again, do I expect Orlando to beat Boston in a 7-game series? No.
Right.
But I think Orlando could win a game, maybe 2. Same thing with Cleveland. Maybe they match up a tad better with Cleveland, but again, Cleveland wiped the floor with them 3 out of 4 times this year, although Orlando did beat them a couple of weeks ago up in Cleveland. So I don't know if it matters too much, RJ, to be honest. I'm just hoping to get in. If you don't get in, if you have 2 home games and you lose both of them in the play-in, that's a disaster.
Yes.
At that point, that's a failure. That's a disappointment. If Orlando gets in and then wins a game or 2 in the opening round, I think the season becomes kind of a wash at that point.
Absolutely. Continuing our conversation with the host of Hacker After Dark, Ryan the Hacker Green, joining us here on Open Gym. Paolo Banchero seemed he was going to have a season that was going to be earth-shattering for the rest of the league, and he went out with that oblique injury. However, he has come back, and the number he has put on the league, it seems like it's sending a message, maybe a little reminder that this would be coming to everybody's doorstep had I played all 82 games. With the records in which he breaks or the list of stars that he associates with when he is achieving certain accolades. Is it time for the NBA to look at this guy as a top 12, top 15 player in the league?
No, there's no question. I mean, tell me 10 better players than Paolo Banchero in the last 4, 5, 6 weeks of this season. You won't find them. He was off to a great start in the first week, but people forget he got hurt on Halloween. I mean, he got hurt 5 games into the year,
Right.
And then he basically misses 2.5 to 3 months. I mean, he missed, 30 games roughly. And then when he came back, RJ, and you and I had many heart-to-hearts about this,
Right.
It was bad. I mean, he had to work himself back into shape. He was obviously rusty. It took a good couple of weeks at least for Paolo to get back to what we kind of remembered him as. But really since, I would say, late February, early March, he has been an absolute stud, man. He's been a beast. I mean, he's scoring 25, 30, 35 points a game. He had one game where he had 33 points and 18 rebounds. Franz Wagner has also played pretty well since he also came back from a prolonged injury. So that's what gives me hope that at least in the first round, if the Magic get in against Cleveland or Boston, that it wouldn't be embarrassing. I don't think Orlando gets crushed in a 4-game sweep. Again, They might only win 1 game, but I think Franz and Paolo If you're Boston or Cleveland, you'll beat Orlando, but you work your tail off to get the first or second seed, and you got to see Franz and Paolo in round one. That's a little interesting.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to ask you this question. When it comes to Paolo, it also comes to Franz, and you also speak on Jalen Suggs. If the Magic are able to get their full allotment of players and have a better bill of health than they had this season, are the Magic a top 4 seed once again in the Eastern Conference?
Oh, I think so. I mean, that's what's so frustrating about this year. You look at Suggs, Banchero, and Franz, the big three in Orlando. I literally think they played like 8 games together the entire season, because Paolo got hurt in Game 6, missed 3 months. Suggs was then injured by the time Paolo came back. Then Suggs came back for a game or two, got injured again, and didn't come back the entire year. So you're talking, say, 10% of the year we actually saw the big three on the court together, which is unbelievably frustrating. But that goes back to what I said. That didn't happen basically the entire year, and Orlando is still a 41-42 regular season win team. So I would love to see, we kind of got robbed of it. I would love to see what this team looked like if they were healthy. Hopefully we'll get that opportunity next season.
Continuing our conversation with Ryan, the Hacker Green, host of Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Make sure to follow him on Twitter if you haven't already. Ryan Green at 1010XL. So we're in draft mode here in the NFL, and you always hear analysts giving their biggest team need for every team. Once we get to the NBA draft, or even free agency for that matter, you being the Orlando Magic analyst, what's the Magic's biggest need?
No, we got to get some shooting. It's been shooting for the longest time. There have been times this year where it has been better than last season, but RJ, there's also been times where it's actually been considerably worse than last season. Gary Harris, KCP, Caleb Houston, Anthony Black, Tristan Da Silva. I mean, good players, but they don't have the one go-to guy outside of Paolo, Franz, and Suggs. And you got to get more shooting on this team. I think maybe some better play in the backcourt as well, although I do like the way Anthony Black is coming on. Man, maybe I'm a creature of the moment here, but the Magic have 2 first-round picks. They have Denver's first-rounder, so I think they'd have like 16 and 23 if the draft were today. I would sign up for Walter Clayton Jr. right now for one of those picks. He would certainly fill a need for the Orlando Magic, no doubt about that. That would be unbelievable if Orlando could pull that off.
Now, wanted to ask you this. I understand it's been a couple of weeks since the announcement was made, but Dwight Howard gets the nod to go into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Phenomenal time with the Magic. He takes them to the NBA Finals in 2009. Just for you, where does he stand in the lore of Orlando Magic basketball?
Oh, he's on the Mount Rushmore. I would say your Mount Rushmore of Orlando Magic players, Shaq, Penny, Dwight Howard, Tracy McGrady would be my guess. Talk to me in a year or two, because at that point maybe Paolo and or Franz will have an argument. But I think if you ask, almost any Orlando Magic fan, there have been some really other good ones, like Darrell Armstrong of that heart and soul team, Nick Anderson, the first ever draft pick in franchise history. But I think at the end of the day, if you talk about the 4 best Magic players, and whatever definition you want to use, best, most marketable, most popular, whatever, I think it still comes back to Shaq, Penny, Tracy McGrady, and certainly Dwight Howard.
Now, I've been trying to answer this question for a long, long time now. Do we know who's the 5th best Magic player of all time? I understand Paolo's going to get there. I think Paolo has the spot coming up through the ranks. But, I think of guys like Hedo Turkoglu in that 5th spot. You bring up Darrell Armstrong. You bring up Nick Anderson. Like, who's the 5th Magic player? If the Mount Rushmore is that of T-Mac, Shaq, Dwight, and Penny, do we have a 5th that we say locks up that spot?
Yeah, I think the guys you just named, I think there would be an argument, maybe not Darrell Armstrong, although I just love the way he played. But I think Nick Anderson, not only what Nick meant on the court, but obviously what he's meant in the community following his career. And then, Hedo Turkoglu is just outstanding. He was unbelievable for a couple of years there, including that 2009 finals run. I think those would probably be the 2. You could maybe argue Jameer Nelson as well. I think he would be a guy that could, deserve some consideration. But, yeah, if you go after Shaq, Penny, Dwight Howard, and Tracy McGrady, I think probably Nick Anderson or Hedo Turkoglu would be the next guy.
He is Ryan the Hacker Green, our Orlando Magic insider, as well as host of Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM, talking a little bit of Magic with us here on Open Gym. Hack, thanks again. Playoff time will be here before we know it. Let's hope for all the best with the Orlando Magic and that they get into the playoffs and just give a team a great scare in the first round. Thanks again for coming on, Hack.